Welcome to the What's Up with Docs podcast, the documentary podcast for all of us. I'm Toni Bell, the creator and host. I would like to acknowledge the traditional, ancestral, unceded territory of the Tongva and the Chumash on which this podcast is being recorded. We do land acknowledgements as a way to honor the ground on which we stand and as a way of giving thanks. Land acknowledgements are also a small act of reconciliation that recognize the traditional territory of the indigenous people who called the land home before the arrival of colonizers, and in many ways still do call it home. The Gabrielino Tongva Springs Foundation is a nonprofit corporation established to preserve and protect the Kurung-Vagna Springs area at University High School. The foundation is a community organization that is involved in educating the public about history as well as preserving the cultural and historical resources of the area. The foundation has created a cultural center at the site, which now serves as a repository of artifacts, historical documents, photo collections, and other historical resources directly associated with the history of the Tongva people as well as the high school. In this episode, I speak with an educator, filmmaker, and former chairperson of the Black Association of Documentary Filmmakers West, Denise Hamilton. In our conversation, we talk about BADWest, her latest documentary interactive project called Race Relay, and what it's like to be educating the next generation of international documentary filmmakers. Because Denise and her family have deep ties to the Black liberation movement that go all the way back to Bethune-Cookman College and the Tuskegee Institute, the song for this episode is Mavis Staples' rendition of the gospel classic, We Shall Not Be Moved. Here is our conversation, which was recorded in July 2020.
So I just want to talk about initially like how we met. So we met well over 10 years ago when I came to my first BADWest meeting. And
that was your first BADWest meeting?
That was my first meeting, yeah. That was my first meeting, yeah. And for those of you who don't know, but you will know, BADWest is the Black Association of Documentary Filmmakers West. And that is essentially how I got into my start into documentary, because when I first came to LA, I was actually wanting to get into the narrative side and was taking a lot of classes in screenwriting. So someone, actually a friend of mine or an acquaintance mentioned to me that actually BADWest was having their meeting that night at the Writers Guild. And I was actually going to be at the Writers Guild anyway, like reading scripts. I said, okay, I'll just like pop up. Because I think you were at the Writers Guild at that time, I believe.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I went in and signed up and like paid my little money. I think it was maybe $5 at the time because I wasn't a member. And Denise got up. And you talked about how you were looking for a writer for the newsletter, and I volunteered because you needed someone who had pages, and I had pages, and started writing a newsletter. And a few months later, Lynn Goldfarb and Allison Sotomayor came to a BADWest meeting to screen a longer teaser trailer of their film Bridging the Divide: Tom Bradley, Politics of Race. I wrote an article about it. They were looking for a PA. I put the ad in our newsletter, applied for the job too.
And got the job.
And that's how I got into documentary. So I just, all that happened just because I happened to attend a BADWest meeting. And I am forever grateful. And like particularly to you, because you pointed out during my little birthday celebration that when I volunteered to do newsletter, you said somebody, you won't say who it is, but somebody said, we want this new person we don't know to do this. And you advocated for me.
It's true. And I advocated for you because I say, go with the person who shows the enthusiasm. And you were so enthusiastic. I said, hey, let that person be the one and prove that they can do it. And you did. Over the years, you have constantly put out a wonderful newsletter. So I want to personally, publicly thank you, Toni, for all the work that you have done. You've really brought a professionalism to the look and to the information, because we can't be responsible for gathering all that. And with your new position, you have access to a lot more information that just helps the newsletter get better. So thank you so much for that. Yes, I remember. I remember that.
Thank you. So I wanted to talk to you about well, first of all, how did you get started with BADWest? Like, what was your entry into BADWest?
Okay. Well, prior to BADWest, I had been in New York working as a producer of segment for television. I had also done some field producing and directing for some internationally shot documentaries. And, I had done some really serious stuff like going to Rwanda and doing pieces on AIDS in Africa. And it was good. But at that same point, I was beginning to feel like New York was bringing me down because there were a lot of homeless people in the street. And to walk down the street and to walk over people who were homeless, I said, there's something wrong with this. I should not get accustomed to this. I need to get out of this environment. So I came to Los Angeles.
Are you from New York originally?
I'm from New Jersey. I'm from Jersey City, which is the claim to fame to Jersey City is that it's located right behind the Statue of Liberty. So whenever you see the Statue of Liberty, that's Jersey City behind it. Okay.
Oh, did I know that?
So
okay.
Yes, you see. So in fact, the statue is closer to New Jersey than it is New York. The only problem is we get the back view. Okay. But growing up in Jersey was beautiful because it's right across the river from Manhattan. I would go into Manhattan constantly and see a lot of plays, off-Broadway, Broadway, growing up with musicals, going to see Radio City Music Hall every summer and winter to see the special events. So I grew up thinking I was a New Yorker in my head. And so, yeah, I'm proud of being from Jersey City, but I'm also a New Yorker because I spent 18 years there and I went to school in New York, Syracuse University, went to Howard also, got my master's at NYU. So, but I think I'm a New Yorker, right? So then I came to LA and, I'd already done some documentaries. And at that time, I thought that I was just going to focus on television. But I was still open. And when I heard that St. Clair Bourne was inviting people to come to think about this new organization that he was starting, I was there. I was there at the first big event meeting at the WGA. And at that time, St. Clair had already started the Black Documentary Collective in New York. And he was here saying, we need to start an avenue where Black documentary filmmakers on the West Coast should be supported. So I was very much into that. I had experience in arts administration in New York. I had been with the New York Foundation for the Arts. I had been with the National Endowment for the Arts, and just a number of things. And I have a strong background in arts administration. I was even put on a Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts Commission, and I was on this commission with like Catherine Dunham. I mean, it's just like amazing. And I just, and at some point I said, this is great. I have written proposals for the Roundabout Theater Company in New York. I had gotten a grant from the New York Community Trust, and all of these things said, okay, so you're a good administrator, but I really am an artist.
Right.
I don't want to go too far into this. Mm-hmm. And so that's when I made the break and I said, I need to get out of New York. I need to think of myself more as an artist. Let me go to LA and do some light stuff.
Right.
Okay. And when I came out to LA, the organization GBGM Productions that I had done work with in New York, I had shot for them in Nicaragua and in Africa. They wanted me to continue doing some work. And I said, well, wait a minute. I came out to LA to do some light stuff and get away from all this serious documentary stuff.
Right.
But
it kept calling you back.
Because they were offering me a job. So I said, okay, I'm going to continue doing this. And that's when I sort of stumbled into, BADWest, that we were forming it. And at that time,
you were there at the beginning.
At the very beginning. Yes, I was at the very first meeting. I still have some of the files of all those people. This was a huge room packed with people. And in fact, I remember he asked everyone to stand up and say what they did. And I happened to know that when I was at the New York Foundation for the Arts, that we'd actually given St. Clair Bourne a grant. Not that I was involved in that particular process, but when I stood up, I said, St. Clair, I know that you have gotten money from the organization that I worked with, the New York Foundation for the Arts. I said, oh my God. So, but I wanted to separate myself from being an arts administrator to being an artist. And so that's how it began. I was there from the very beginning. And so was David Massey and Joyce Guy, my co-officers. We were all there from the beginning.